All right, everyone, welcome back to Midnight Magic Musings. I am your humble host, Lord Cephas. I am joined once again by the Earl of Florida. Earl, how are you this evening?
I'm doing wonderful this evening. Still recovering from the weekend, but other than that, I'm can't complain.
No, and part of your recovery issues is that I'm still winning in the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantum Mania struggle to see who owes whom a full pizza. But what the audience may not know is that we are also doing a March Madness pool where we pick our basketball brackets to see who's best. And we both suffered tremendously when Purdue went down, but right now we're about 1 point difference separating us tonight and tomorrow night. Probably going to be the difference in who wins, who loses, and who owes whom a whole bunch of wings. So I hope you've been working hard this week, earning some extra money because, bud, you're going to need it.
Don't count me out yet. I mean, sure, Purdue fell and Mizzou fell, but I still have faith. This is the way.
And to quote from the Book of Antiquities, and great was the fall of it. That's all I'm going to say about that. All right, everyone. Well, that's just a side note there. And I always having a little bit of fun, a little bit of competitive rivalry. Never hurt anybody. This is Midnight Magic Musings, episode number 17. We continue to grow the brand. We thank each and every one of you for being here week after week after week, watching not only Midnight Magic Musings, but you watch the Realm of Reality episodes, and you were very faithful. You tuned in for the shorts that we did over the weekend. We'll talk a little bit about those more in just a moment. But we'd like you to do us a favor, and that is, if you enjoy this content, click like on the video if you would, subscribe if you've not subscribed before, and share this out on the social medias if you would before you head out today. That really does help us, not just in the YouTube algorithm, but it's really encouraging for us to see how many people interact with us on a daily basis and certainly on a weekly basis. Earl, do you want to address the people who have been just so supportive of us?
Like us, subscribe, or you'll get more of the Baron. And nobody wants more of the Baron.
I mean, sincerely, no. No one really does want more of the Baron. In fact, he did a run in on one of the shows we did the other day. I was not expecting the Baron. The screen went blank. The Baron showed himself. I'm not saying the show was better for it. I'm not saying the show was worse for it. I'm just saying that, well, my mental state is more fragile than it was before we started recording. But that's a personal issue. And I'll go ahead.
Oh, I said that's a dangerous thing considering you're already fragile.
I really don't understand why you pick on me. I do nothing wrong. I'm a paragon of virtue, and yet this is how you treat me. Well,
That's my line. You can't steal my.
I can because I'm the host. I can do that. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about what the Earl was alluding to a few moments ago. The Earl and I had the opportunity this past weekend to attend Collective Con in Jacksonville, Florida. Collective Con 2023. We were there on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now, Friday was just for the adults. The Earl and I went and had a really great time with that, going to panels. Saturday, we had the little ones with us, and on Sunday, we had little ones with us as well. Now, we had the opportunity to see and do a lot of things. We met a lot of really cool content creators. We met In Symmetry
Yep.
Creations, who will put their link here in the description of the show. We had Cosmic Times, who were just a tremendous amount of fun. All of them gave us a few shorts and a few comments, and so we'll definitely post their stuff here as well. Really good independent content creators, whether they be comic books or animation. They're doing great work, and we hope you'd support them. It's nice to be linked up with those individuals. But not only did we meet some of those, and look on our channel, you're going to see a response from the Master Chief from Halo. It's all I can say because I don't want to spoil it. Because if you do, the B of Burntown will probably show back up again. So we're not going to do that.
Well, the rumors have it that he will be posting a reply in the next day or so. So catch up on the shorts, watch the Master Chief reaction, so you'll know what the next appearance of the Baron will be.
Hardly can we wait for that next appearance. But we did get to do a few other things as well. One of those things is we got to attend several days of panels. Now, these panels ranged from anywhere from John Rhys Davies, who was Gimli in Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies, or he was in Sliders, he was in Indiana Jones. He's in so many different things. And to be honest, that was like a PhD education for 50 minutes where he just breathlessly took us through history, his career, how those intertwined. Absolutely blown away by his stage presence. What a dude, right? We also got to do Cat Noir and Ladybug. That was a lot of fun. We had who is it?
Yeah.
We had Futurama was there. Um,
Yep.
we had voices from that. We got to the Aliens reunion on Sunday, which was a lot of fun. And several others that we got to do as well. You and I were kind of in and out on different ones, but one of the panels that we were at was a gathering of the actors from The Expanse. Now, Earl, I was not as well versed on The Expanse as you are because you've gone through the series. I do know that it was a series of books before it became a
Yep.
television or a streaming project. We had two actors who were there. Do you remember their names?
Stephen Strait and Wes Chatham.
And the reason we bring that up is number one, it was a really great panel. I felt
Yeah.
like.
You can
Um,
feel the passion that they still have for it. They were on there for 6 seasons, and it's been over now for a little over a year, I believe. But they are both very, they're still very passionate. They love these characters, they love the stories. And just as in addition, for anybody who watches The Expanse and, they want a little bit more, they mentioned a Kickstarter campaign. I think it was Dragon Teeth for what happens with the characters between the book ending where they for season 6 and the next book, which takes place in the future. Uh, they were looking for $30,000, for people to commit to. And when I looked at it over the weekend, they were somewhere in the range of $1.4 million have committed to it so far. So um, it's got a very strong fan base, and both those actors are part of that fan base. So kudos to them for keeping the passion going.
so you're saying there's a chance that this may go forward?
You know what? The comic books is going forward. It's going to be continuing the character's story to finalization. The gap between the two books that had a time jump, they're going to be filling in some of the adventures. So you know what? The actors are definitely passionate about it, and you know what? The, never say never. Never say never.
Well, let's talk about that passion just a little bit and kind of direct it. Um, One of the actors who was on the panel, it was not Steve. It was not Stephen Strait. So I will let you deduce whom it might have been. Was asked, what are some of the upcoming projects that might be in the pipeline?
Yeah.
Yes, we want to clarify that he could talk about. And what he said, and Earl, keep me straight on this one. I believe he said that he just finished wrapping something right before Christmas that takes place a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Would that be a pretty close to a quote for what we were told?
That would be a pretty good quote to what I recall.
All right. So you take that for what you will. What was he talking about? Is it Ahsoka? Is it One Day an Eventual Acolyte series? Is it the Skeleton Crew? We don't really know, but we know that it was wrapped around Christmas time. So
I mean, it could even be, voice acting. So you can't put a finger on it. But, since he didn't jump out there and tell us what it was, what the project name was, and we already know the names of projects and some of the talent attached to those projects, it makes you wonder.
I'm just saying Disney doesn't like to get their stuff out there very much. In fact, what we've seen over the last couple of weeks, them trying to clamp down on leaks
Yep.
with Reddit and other leaks taking place. And so we're
Rest
not
in
saying,
peace.
yeah. He shared with us just a little bit of information. We wanted to bring it to our fan base and let them know what all he said. There were a couple of other experiences that we had. Earl, one I want to touch on is we got to experience Greedo,
Paul Blake.
Mr. Blake himself.
You know what? One of the things I've been saying for to the Lord Cephas for probably 2 months is I want to ask him a question, and the question is, does he know what happened to the body, the remains of Greedo, after he was brutally murdered in cold blood by the smuggler and dastardly villain Han Solo?
Scruffy looking nerf herder, I've heard him described as.
Yeah, and his response was, well, yes, he did know, and he even told us what it was. And you know what? For that, I have to applaud him because that was just beautiful. And he is one of the people that we met, obviously at Collective Con, and he was, it's been 1977 has been a few years since he had a small role as Greedo in the film, but he enjoys the fans. He gives back to the fans. He's very interactive and very active with the fans and Comic Cons and everything like that. So you know what? You could take somebody who like, oh, I missed out on money or whatever, but he's all about it's an art, and he loves the fact that after what almost 50, 45 years,
It's getting close to 50.
it's been a few, but after all that time, that people are still passionate about it. So I mean, props to him for being so jovial and happy and engaging with the fan base. So and knowledgeable. And I was surprised that he knew that, but it was very fun. It was very fun with that panel.
And I appreciated his perspective because one of the interesting things that came out of that panel is he had no idea if Star Wars was going to be a hit. Nobody really had idea if Star Wars was a hit. But his first day on set, he gets a call from Anthony Daniels, who would be C-3PO, saying, "Hey, we need actors. Can you come down to the set?" And finally, after about a month, he goes down to the set, takes a train down to the set, walks on it, sees someone kind of stirring over in the corner of a dark, dimly lit set, and he asks the fella, "Hey, can you get me a cup of coffee? I'm kind of thirsty." The fella says, "Sure." Comes back with a cup of coffee, and Mr. Blake says to this individual, "Yeah, I came down here. I'm supposed to meet some director, somebody named George something." To which the person responds, "I'm the director. I'm George Lucas." And that was his introduction into Star Wars. He basically had George Lucas get him coffee, which it's hard to top that story. That's a pretty darn good one. I really enjoyed hearing those things from him.
The other thing that he pointed out was he wasn't sure exactly where the heart is or important vitals for Greedo is. So since we know that Disney has acquired Lucasfilm, we know that some things that were canon are now legends. So from his perspective, it's possible, potentially until it's confirmed in canon, in the new canon, that Greedo may have survived and went off and had a family and kids. Now, whether that's ever going to happen or not, I almost prefer the real fate of Greedo. But after having met Paul Blake, I'm willing to change. No, I'm not. I'm sorry, Paul. You're still a drink. For those fans out there who don't know, Greedo, after he was killed, Wooher, who was there, realized that he was trying to make a perfect drink for Jabba the Hutt, and he realized that the ingredients he needed that was missing was Greedo. So Greedo was turned into a drink, and so that's the fate of Greedo's body.
Now, for those of you who weren't there, a couple other things coming out of that. One thing is his costume is not a Skywalker Ranch that he wore. It was actually deconstructed, torn apart, and actually kind of layered over Princess Leia at the end of A New Hope to kind of help make up her out.
I thought you said it was part of the outfit for the Return of the Jedi.
Was it Return of the Jedi?
Yeah, part of the garments were repurposed and retooled into one of her more popular outfits.
I was going to say, it looked like there was a lot more material when he wore it. That's all I'm going to say about that. We did get a chance to sit on a couple of other panels. One of them beat Aliens. That was fascinating to listen to them talk about James Cameron before he was James, when he was Jim. One thing that Earl and I, we didn't joke about it, but we found it fascinating is that some of the people signed contracts where they got no royalties.
Yeah.
Bill Paxton apparently gave a phone call to one of the actors. I think it was Rico. Uh, I think was the fellow's name on the end. Who
Yes.
he took the call from Bill Paxton. He said, "Hey, I just got $100,000 royalty check," and he's like, "Yeah, I get nothing." Very sad, really, that a lot of those actors and actresses don't get that bump based on where they were from or what contracts they signed. Thought that was interesting. By far, the most fun though was the voice panels.
Oh yeah.
Um, uh, Bryce Patting, was it Patty Brook?
Bryce Papenburg.
Pattenberg. Okay. Who is the voice of Cat Noir? Is the voice of a character on Attack on Titan.
Okay,
A
Darren.
whole bunch of different anime properties.
Everything goes on and on.
If anybody had a line, dude had a line all weekend long. Now this
And
thing ran. Go ahead.
we sat in and listened to him. At first, I was like, "Ah, Lord, all the kids." But after singing through a panel or two, I 100% understand why he had a line.
We left around 4:45 ish. It's supposed to knock off at 5. Dude still had people in his line. So it was a very successful weekend for Bryce. Hopefully his voice held out. He's a ball of energy. But we had a lot of fun with those panels and listening and learning, and giving us some ideas, some other things we could watch to enjoy both on a personal level with our kids, with our family as well. So overall, a really, really good time. We bought a couple of things, got to bring something home for Lady Cephas, a original Walking Dead print. I'm very excited to get that. And even I picked up a few items for myself, a couple of figures because, well, I don't have enough Rocket Raccoon stuff. Excuse me, I picked up 2 figures as well. So a great time had. Like we said, go to our channel, take a look at the shorts we did. We had a whole lot of fun doing those and really just had a great time doing it. And hopefully we'll get to do that again next year.
And in the next few days, we'll have a few more things dropping. We'll include, we got some shots of some great cosplay and maybe a little bit insight that goes a little bit deeper into the Collective Con experience. Keep it on.
Absolutely. We look forward to doing that again. We're just doing some editing and stuff we have to do to make it look pretty when we put it up there. So you'll see that in the next couple of days. All right, Earl, we mentioned just a little bit about our actor friend who may have said something about a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. I guess this is the next thing we need to talk about, and that is Star Wars, or is it just war? We heard this week that 2 of the directors who were attached to the next series of movies will no longer be a part of that. And then this morning, we heard there was a new director now attached to that particular movie. Now, we've already lost Kevin Feige, Patty Jenkins. Ryan Johnson's trilogy is never happening. I don't care what they say. That's just not going to be a thing. So they've cut quite a bit of material.
We cut Thor Ragnarok director.
Taika Waititi.
I butcher his name every time I try it. I'm sorry.
He's running around saying it's just a rumor. And I'm like, dude, StarWars.com said it. Who's making up these rumors if they're the ones reporting it? But I digress. But we've seen Star Wars has had a rough couple of weeks. For whatever reason, it seems like this thing is doomed to just be a streaming property, at least for the next couple of years. Do you see any way that they can turn this movie around for the late 2025 release that they were shooting for previously?
Well, I mean, a lot of it comes down to the script. Is the script finished? Because 2025, that's 2 years away. I mean, literally, it's not almost 3. It's 2 years away for a summer release, or give them 2.5 years if they want to do a December release. And so look at Blade and all the issues and how long it's taken. And that's just from a script, a screenplay standpoint. They've got Blade, they've got cast done, and then obviously the rotation of directors. And Blade has been in development hell for 7-8 years easily.
Well, it got a new director here a while back.
I know, less than a month ago.
Yep.
So when you look at something like Blade, and then you go to Star Wars, and you're like, if they're having issues with Blade, who's a lesser known main character from the Marvel Universe. He had a trilogy with Wesley Snipes portraying Blade uh, 20 years ago, and he's been off and on in the cartoons, Spider-Man, specifically in the 90s. Not much problem with Blade. How much problem are they having that they're admitting to right now with screenplays and cast interaction issues and directors. So saying that we're going to have a finished product in 2 years or at the most 2.5 years, I think is if you're going to rush something, we've seen how that turns out.
I
We've
don't
seen
know that you can afford to rush
no,
something to the big screen because honestly, it's the big screen that's going to keep the streaming shows viable. I do
and
not believe. Go ahead.
let's face it, Disney right now, and Star Wars part of Disney, has not learned how to rein in some of their budget. They're still using their budgets on this is a massive tentpole franchise before COVID.
Right.
You know,
I
all three things have changed since COVID. The massive hit. How much Star Wars draws, whether that particular project's going to be a tentpole or not, and then obviously the theaters are still. We're still finding a groove, hopefully, with returning ticket sales and everything like that, where they can recoup their losses. Because if their budget's 300 million, you're the money man. How much do they have to bring in to break even?
So we do a 2x multiplier on your movie. So if that 300 million is production costs and marketing, then basically you have to bring in 900 million just to break even. Anything beyond that then becomes margin, then becomes profit. And that's a high threshold to hit because people are just not doing the theaters. I mean, look what's been a hit in the last year and a half. Minions: The Rise of Gru. That was shot on an $85 million budget.
Yeah.
I'm going to guesstimate with marketing another 30 million, probably. So let's say 125. Let's even go high. And yet that thing's in the $400 million range.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they did really super well. Or Puss in Boots, made for $70 million, and their marketing campaign was not even that good.
Yeah.
So let's say their marketing campaign was 10 to 15 million. So they shot it for under 100, and yet they're over 300. Everybody's doing dances because that's a huge success. But those
And
numbers, go ahead.
yeah. No, I'm saying look at Top Gun 2, Maverick. It was a budget of $170 million, and it reached almost 1.5. It was 1.49 million at the box office.
It's a massive haul,
Yeah.
which is why the Avatar thing was so. There's so much ambiguity to that because according to James Cameron, it's either a massive budget that's almost half a billion dollars, or it's really 200 or less, depending on how they amortize it. Really, this is just stuff they do on the back end financially.
Yeah.
So we're probably never going to know the full story. But let's just take the director at his word, and I don't think he meant it this way, but let's say he did. Well, you got to get a 2x on a $400 or $500 million project. Well, then they barely broke even, and that's why ratcheting up those costs really come back to bite you because you don't get all the money back that your movie makes. A lot of that goes to the distributors. It goes to the movie theaters. The studios don't get it all back, and that's why the numbers have got to be so high. And as you've said on this show many times, as the numbers get higher, the return on investment gets harder and harder to achieve.
Mm-hmm. That's Avatar I think Avatar exists outside of reality because they were saying somewhere around $500 million for their shoot.
Yeah.
But they also shot 2.5 movies. They shot number 2, number 3, and half of number 4 on $500 million. And this one made $2.3 billion at the box office. So, I mean, that's why I'm like, Avatar exists in its own little world, in its own universe, because it's it's something that we haven't seen the likes of.
And it just depends from an accounting perspective. Do you break it out, a portion of it for all three movies, or do you throw it all on one? We don't know how that's going to work. Disney inherited the movie. Fox spent a lot of money on that. Of course, Disney, when they bought Fox, took on double the debt, and so it's even harder for them. But we can talk about that another day. But that's why we talk about these numbers have to be so high, and unfortunately, that's what puts a franchise, a tentpole franchise like Star Wars, in so much jeopardy. They crossed $1 billion with the Rise of Palpatine movie, the third movie in the sequel. I'm sorry, did I say that wrong? Oh,
No,
um, they
right.
crossed $1 billion. That's not the concern. The concern is, can they do it again? Because those effects are not cheap. And right
Nope.
now, Lucasfilm, from not only from a creative perspective but from a PR perspective, dude, they need to win, and they need to
Yeah.
win like right now. And going into Star Wars Celebration, what, in a couple of weeks over in London,
Yep.
this is not what you want leading up to that big celebration of all things Star Wars. Now, my expectation is they will announce a couple of movies. Now, listen, will they ever happen or not? Probably not, but they're going to announce something because that's what's expected of them to do. I expect
Well,
they'll announce an Andor season two, a
well.
Kenobi season two, just because you got to have something to talk about.
So here's the question for you, Lord Cephas.
Okay, go ahead.
So we're talking about sets and everything. Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker. Episode 9 was a success, correct? It made $1.074
Yep,
billion dollars,
yep.
but the budget cost anywhere from 275 to 416 million dollars.
And is that inclusive of advertising? I mean, that, gosh,
The
it's hard to say.
the T-75 might have been the production cost, and the
Okay.
416 may be including in advertising. But even if you take 416 million, that doesn't hit your two-time multiplier too well.
You would have to hit 1.2 billion
Yeah.
just to break even, and that's, dude, movies, I don't believe post COVID are built for that level of success. Now, of course, the minute I say that, Top Gun, there was a reason for that. Spider
Yeah.
Man, there was a reason for that.
Yeah.
But those are outliers. Even Doctor Strange, to a degree, kind of rode the Spider Man No Way Home coattails because it was kind of tied to it, right? But we see what happens when we saw what happened with Thor: Love and Thunder came out. There were no coattails
Ooh.
to ride. There were no coattails to, and no, in all seriousness, there were no coattails to ride. So
Well, you can't.
it didn't achieve that. Wakanda Forever had a Wakanda movie, a Black Panther movie, and a popular character who had passed in real life. I don't want to say rode the coattails because that's disrespectful, but they rode a wave of emotionalism and sentiment. Which, by the way, I'm not meaning that disrespectfully, but that had something to keep it going. But even
Well,
that didn't super hit either.
well, by your definition, so a movie that's had two previous installments has a tie-in to one of the Disney TV shows, and also is reintroducing to the cinematic universe the big bad for the next phase. Those are a lot of coattails to ride on,
Yep.
and what happened? I lost a pizza. I owe
And
Lord Pizza.
and we'll get to that because that's actually our next topic. But to kind of button up the Star Wars stuff, dude, I all right. So let me just vent for a second. I really feel like the PR is 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 really giving them a hard time. Now, listen, you know the old saying, "There's no such thing as bad publicity." Patently not true. Oh, yes, there is. And Disney has been locked in this cycle the last several weeks to several months where it just seems like everything they do comes across as a misstep.
Yeah.
And so you look at Star Wars, which they spent what, $4 billion on it?
416 million and made
To
1.0 billion.
But when they bought the franchise, how much did they buy it from for Lucasfilm?
Oh, it was a couple
It
of billion.
it was four, I believe, was the number that they spent. As a shareholder, especially as your stock has just basically hung around 95, 96, $94 a share. And if you're not a stock person, all it means is For every share you own of Disney, that's how much it's worth. So obviously you want that number to go as high as possible. As a shareholder, especially if you're, say, of the Nelson Peltz variety, who was really getting close to forcing a hostile takeover, but he walked it back.
Yeah.
People who have that kind of investment stake need to see that profit go up.
Yeah.
Star Wars is not turning that profit for them right now. And then you add on some of the challenges that we've seen with The Mandalorian. Season premiere happens, 2% less than the Book of Boba Fett. That should not happen ever.
No.
We beat the Book of Boba Fett by like a quarter percent, but the season premiere, not good,
No.
not good at all. And then you go ahead.
Yes, Mandalorian was the flagship for Disney Plus at the very beginning.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That is what they hung their hat on when Disney Plus launched. That was the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to episode 3 last week, and there's a quote from John Diggle in The Flash, and one of the crossovers, I forget which one it was. I think it was the one with the Dominators. And, Flash picks him up and runs with him, and it always makes him sick to his stomach. And then the Legends of Tomorrow show up in their time ship, and he's like, this is why I never took drugs. I was afraid of seeing things. That's how I felt watching episode 3 of Mando, season 3. I'm like, I don't do drugs, but I assume this is what it must feel like, what you see, because I have no idea what's going on. It is a beautiful, confusing mess, and I'm not even sure. I'm just kind of here, and I'm just powerless to not watch. And then it turns out, according to Samba TV, which tracks the Nielsen ratings for streaming shows, lowest rated episode in the history of the entire series. Now we can argue, was that people just not watching on the first run? Was that people hearing online it was awful and didn't watch? All different things can play into it. The point is, Mando 3 is struggling, and they are already talking about a season 4. And I have to just ask you, Earl, and you can certainly weigh in on the Mandalorian stuff, because I know you watched those 2 episodes and caught up this evening. Can Disney Plus keep streaming enough Star Wars content to tide people over for new movies to come out? Is that even possible?
If we remember history, when the people were starving, they would bring out food and throw them like massive amounts of food. But if the food was rotting, the people rose up and rioted. So right now, after having watched episode 3 of The Mandalorian today, because I had to catch up so we could talk about it, sure. I felt like I was just given this massive, bountiful feast, and I look at it and it was rotting food, and I'm like, I was expecting a gourmet meal or at least a TV dinner, and you're giving me this horribly bad. I don't even see how I can eat this. And I want to preface that analogy because we're not going to give you spoilers in case you're a week behind like I was. But we had 9 minutes at the very beginning of the movie that was The Mandalorian, or the episode.
Give or take, yeah, about that.
And then 30-something minutes of a character we met in season 1 that we never thought about again, ever. Right. And we're given this walkthrough of a different locale that we're probably not ever going to see again in The Mandalorian. People we're probably never ever going to see again in The Mandalorian. And honestly, I almost just did not watch episode 4 because that one left a sour taste, bitter taste, bad taste in my mouth, because I was watching The Mandalorian, and then I started watching a documentary of the New Republic, and
the political failures of the New Republic.
And I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. And so I understand why the ratings were so low. And I don't see how that will tie in at all to The Mandalorian or potentially any of the other current series going on right now.
Well, this is just my opinion. I think when they start talking, and they did this in season 1, they were talking about cloning Grogu is really what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
I can see, I can see them pushing this towards. Now, here's the question: I can see them pushing this towards what would end up transpiring with Palpatine, the rise of Palpatine. I could, where he was basically cloned,
Mhm.
or, or there is still the opportunity to retcon some of that, even with the cloning idea. It doesn't mean it has to go that way, but I think they can certainly go with it. And I think there's opportunity to take it a little different way if they ever choose to disavow that sequel or just kind of set
Don't
it
over
over.
it.
Well, set it over on the shelf and not put as much emphasis on it for those details. I can see it going either way.
Yeah.
I just feel like Disney Plus has a bait and switch problem. This is the Mandalorian, and now here's a middle story for 45 minutes of the 55 minutes that had nothing to do with the Mandalorian, like you were saying.
Yeah.
It's the Hawkeye series. Um, I like Kate Bishop. I like her character in the comic books. Unfortunately for Kate, her book doesn't sell very well under the all new Marvel. Um, no disrespect, it hasn't. I like the story, and I like the young lady as an actor. I thought she was great at it. It's not Hawkeye.
No.
It's Kate Bishop plus Hawkeye. That irritated a lot of fans. I rolled with it because I thought it was fun. Minus the Avengers theatrical um, number. I literally wanted to hurt myself when it was over. Um, this is the same thing, dude. You're telling me it's one thing, it turns out to be something totally different. And I think Disney runs a risk of using that trope time after time after time. That is going to wear down some of the more loyal fan base. Now, listen, in next weekend it's WrestleMania season. We'll have another Combat One Wrestling podcast. We'll give details next week on that. But the thing we talk about in wrestling, which is just another form of entertainment, is you keep bringing back old people, old people, old people, and it takes away from the younger. And as they keep coming back, it means less and less and less and less and less. The more you take people's fandom for granted, the less likely their fandom is to last. And that's kind of my final word on it. Otherwise, I won't stop talking. Earl, any final words on Star Wars and where they're at?
Episode 3 was painful. Episode 4 for the legends, who people who love Mandalorians, the Mandalorian culture. You,
Y'all don't know this, but the Earl and I, we talk all the time, obviously, and we talked before we recorded, before we came on the air, and the passion in his voice was priceless. We disagree only because I was just giving him a hard time, but maybe we'll do a Realm of Reality episode 8 to talk about where the show goes versus where the lore actually is, and why maybe they're trying to streamline it a little too much. I think is what you were very nicely trying to say. We spoke on the phone as we were getting ready to. No. Okay, we'll be gentle on the Earl because he's been gentle to me, so I should be gentle to him. So we'll move on, but hopefully we'll get a chance to do an episode like that.
24
Uh,
hours and somebody's going. He's not Boba Fett. This isn't the. Moving on. Moving on. No spoilers, but you'll know what I'm talking about. You'll understand. Lord Cephas even brought that one up to me, and I was too busy going, no. I don't. I'm still talking about the Mandalorians.
I know,
But
I know. All right, we're going to transition from Star Wars and some of the challenges they're having to. Here's a shocker: another Disney property having problems, and we termed this Marvel's a disappearing multiverse because they pushed some things back there at the end of the year, but that number has grown significantly. Just as a
Yeah.
reminder, what things have we lost so far, at least to next year? Echo has gone away. Agatha Harkness and the Covenant of Darkness, or
The
how
Covenant.
how not to be a neighbor, or something like that. Yep, that got pushed back. Over the last week, we've had some others get pushed back. We saw Riri Williams' Ironheart that was introduced in Wakanda Forever, now pushed back. Now you have What If, which was scheduled to come out later this year, now shows as, quote, coming soon.
Yeah.
So that's been pushed back. Oh, and then this week, Loki season 2. which some people liked. I felt it was a lot of talking, a lot of talking, in my worst Owen Wilson imitation. Um, but
That was
that's
horrible.
now. Yeah, it
That was
was.
horrible.
Thank you. I tried. It's now coming soon.
Yeah, all of them went from date. We have release dates to
Yep.
now. Eventually, maybe.
So we're at the point now we're saying, okay, Guardians has a slot. It's locked in. The
Maybe.
Marvels apparently is the ever moving target. That is the Marvels movie.
Well,
Has
let's
been
go.
put it has been put in the middle of November, um, kind of over in
For
the
now.
corner, so nobody notices. For now, it could still be, it could still be moved again.
Put them
We
in
have,
Christmas for best
well,
bet.
yeah. And then you look at the Disney Plus series. Literally, what are we now reduced to talking about?
Mandalorian episode 5.
I guess. I mean, Secret Wars, maybe some version of that, and that's it. Now, Bob Iger made a point at one of these meetings he was at a couple weeks ago. We're going to slow down the amount of content we're releasing, and
Yeah.
that sounds good early in theory. But here's my rebuttal to that. Why are you throttling back series you've already shot and are in the can?
Maybe they're planning on going the tax write-off with Batwoman or Batgirl like Warner Brothers did. No, probably not. But
It just, AMC Plus did the very same thing. They had a series with Martin Lawrence a couple weeks ago. It had like 8 or 10 episodes. It was shot. The series was done.
yeah.
They pushed it back, and now they're talking about never even releasing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the can. You're not really spending any more money than you are airing Mission Impossible 3 on a Sunday night from 8 to 10:30 or 8 to 11 because you add in 500 commercials. It's not going to cost you any more money. It may not make you any money, but it's not going to cost you any money. And now that's where Disney actually is. They're pushing stuff back that's already done.
Yeah.
So, Earl, from your perspective, what is Disney? What are they saying with these decisions? Do you have kind of a clear idea of what's going on and what may be going on?
Yeah, they're saying iceberg ahead right now, or maybe iceberg behind us because we've already hit it. Now we discussed a few things about this. If we think back to Disney Plus when it first kicked off, they would come out with a series and weekly release,
Yep.
and then after that they would give you a couple of weeks or fans a couple of weeks to either re-enjoy it or catch up or watch it and discuss and blah 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 blah, and then they would do another series. Now they're coming out so fast. I still have not been able to watch Andor because I'm watching Mandalorian and trying to stay caught up in Mandalorian. And I got like 2 episodes left of Willow. Yes, I know there's no Willow 2. I know I'm heartbroken too, but I still want to watch that and finish that out. And there's a few other that are floating out there. There's just too many for me to. I don't have enough time of the day. And people out there, if I have to choose what I'm going to watch, if something's already done and over and you can see spoilers and reviews and all this stuff online, you click on YouTube and if it's something you care about, it's going to pop up and advertisements and everything. They're not going to be able to get away from it. I'm going to watch The Mandalorian because it's new. It's releasing now. Right. And how long has Andor been out? Like months?
Months, yeah.
And I have not yet been able to watch the first one because they have so much new content that I'm interested in that I just don't have time to go back to watch anything that's already been released. And I think that's part of the problem. They're just too rapid fire. I think that's part of the not giving people time to watch stuff or catch up on stuff or have that opportunity when it's like, okay, I have to choose to watch this or watch this right now. And I think that's part of it. The other part of it was what Iger said was, he wants to pull back on quantity and focus more on quality, which for new projects that haven't been filmed yet,
That's it right there.
For stuff that's already been done in the can, as you said, what are we talking? You can't change the quality unless you go into reshoots, and he doesn't want to do that because of money. And that's part of the reason he's running full force right now trying to slow things down is because They're bleeding out money. I mean,
And
look at me.
well, you said it best. This applies to new stuff, not old stuff. And part of me wonders if they haven't realized, oh shoot, a lot of these series we thought would catch on because we just rolled our helmet out there and it said Marvel and everybody's going to do whatever we say or roll over. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
We have this Echo character coming out of a Hawkeye series. She may be a wonderful character, but it didn't excite me coming out of the series.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But you're working on a Daredevil series now that's supposed to be tied into that. I don't know that elevates her. In fact, I'm going to take an opposite approach here. If that doesn't elevate her, you know what that does do? It devalues someone else. And I know that sounds harsh, but that's the world we live in, and that's how things are being judged. She-Hulk was criticized by a vast majority of the fan base, and yet there were things in it that I smirked at, like, that's kind of funny. Daredevil on the Walk of Shame is still funny to me, but it's funny not because it's so awesome. It's funny that wow, somebody thought that was a good idea to do that to a character you're getting ready to give their own series to. It's supposed to be a little more serious than that. As far as I'm concerned, he is just another character because that's the way you treated it. Spider-Man is not treated as just another character. Captain America is not just another character, or at least the Steve Rogers version. We'll see how things go with Sam, but he's not. Black Widow, you can put her sister in there. There's only one Black Widow, and that was Natasha. Yeah, that was it. You know who that is, and that's who you identify with. And I think that's important to identify. Iron Man, same thing. That's solid.
Yeah.
These other characters introducing didn't really catch on, and the reason I say that is Hawkeye, one of the lower received rated series when they did the watch hours and stuff, even though it was released during a holiday, and they tried to say, well, it's because it was during a holiday, people are going to watch it. What else are people doing during a holiday than watching it?
Yeah.
And so I get it. You got to PR spin it. We do that every day in our lives. We all do that in some form or fashion. But the problem is Disney's having to do this more and more and more. And I really feel like what you're saying is valid in that they're taking things back going, okay, how are we going to make this not look bad if it is a train wreck? And we don't know until we see if it's a train wreck or not. I made fun of the She-Hulk CGI in the trailers and commercials because it looked terrible.
Did everybody?
Okay, so don't get mad at me as a fan for making fun of it. If it looked terrible, it looked terrible.
Yep.
That's not a statement of who the actress is, who I love. Tatiana Maslany, wonderful actress, didn't work there. It just didn't. Wong is now just a comedy character coming out of that series. That's all he is. Yeah. It was entertaining with him and his little girlfriend. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I get the entertainment value of watching him be completely deconstructed as a character, but I don't take him seriously anymore.
Well, here's a question for you.
I don't, because you devalue that.
Well, here's a question for you. We're specifically talking about She-Hulk right now, right?
Okay, sure.
What was there a character in that entire series that was bolstered by their appearance in that series? And that's the problem.
I was waiting for the Jeopardy music to start but I didn't hit the button so we can do it.
Just go on and on and on, because every character they either introduced or brought in, I think it took a little bit away. Like you said, Wong was one of them. Daredevil was one of them. Even
how about Hulk?
Even the Hulk, you just turned him into a he's not the preeminent Hulk smash. He's just proven that he's weaker, potentially slower, less control initially. He had to go through science to create a serum to allow him to control it, and she's able to do it like that. So I mean, even Tim Roth, in the Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton, he was the bad guy. He was, and in this, albeit I did find it amusing.
Yep.
I will never look at him as a credible villain again, or even a credible hero because of his portrayal, which, albeit was amusing,
Oh, it was.
but they did that to almost every character in there, was they made them amusing. And so, from if I was in Bob Iger's shoes, I'd be looking at the series going, okay, is this going to help the characters? Is this going to bolster things, or is this going to potentially hurt not just this series, but anybody who's connected with this in universe and even the brand?
I really think I could be wrong on this, dude, but I really think their whole thing of not doing a bunch of sequels is their way of saying, shoot, if we pull another Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, we have. Sorry, all joking aside, we have to eat that, and now that saddles Ant-Man with anything else he does the rest of MCU. So you know what? If we have a hit, maybe we let that lay and don't bring back a sequel on the off chance the fans don't respond to it.
Mm.
It's just a thought going through my mind this evening. Maybe they're thinking the longer you keep trotting these out, the more likely there is to have either fatigue or it's just a bad movie or just not very good.
Yeah.
And then we have to hear about, oh, you ruined the character. Because listen, perception is reality in the world in which we live, whether people like it or not. That's just the human nature that we all live with. And right now, Star Wars has a perception problem.
Yeah.
Marvel has a perception problem. And so I guess we'll leave it right there. But it's going to be interesting to see going forward. I guess right now the only thing really scheduled is X-Men 97, I guess, is scheduled for later in the year. That's still to come out on schedule. But you know what? The way things are going, who knows?
Yeah.
Who really knows if that'll come out or if that'll be pushed back too? And I think really the next tale will be, how does Guardians do? Is it 750, 800, 850? Great.
Yeah. So,
but if it pulls a 550, 650, or just barely 700, yikes.
so you're talking about what is a superhero movie that's going to come out going to do, even though they did well previously.
Yes.
You know, that is currently going on right now on the other side of the comic world.
That is an excellent segue because that is our very next topic, and that is DC's movie Shazam. We've renamed it Fury of the Consumer, not Fury of the Gods, because we don't think the good Lord above had anything to do with this particular failure, I guess is all you can say at the box office. Now, listen, maybe it'll hit 20 million a week for the next 10 weeks, and I'll be like, it legged out some. It did pretty well. But for the first weekend, yikes and away, I believe is what Daffy Duck would say as he, swung down on the rope as he continued to hit himself all the way down. It's kind of how it went this weekend for Shazam. Now, it was down about, 44% of what it did originally, the first movie, 4 years ago? I believe is when it was. So it was down about 43% financially. Now, adjust that for inflation, take it one step further. That means you failed to hold about 65% of your original audience came out to see this movie. Those are devastating numbers. Just, I can spend pretty much anything, but I cannot spend that one. That one is just, it's what it is.
Well, they're looking at a $125 million budget, and right now they're sitting at $70 million in the box office. Yep. So, I mean, if they have some legs, they could make a profit if they keep their legs. But as you pointed out, they're not doing as well because the first one was right at 90 million, and the box office was $367 million. Right. So I mean that one, it did pretty well. 4 times? Right about 4 times the amount. So I love Zachary Levi, and I do like Helen Mirren, and there are a few others in there like Adam Brody that I enjoy as well. So I mean, I hope, and I haven't seen it. My younger two want to go see it desperately, so I'll be going to see it probably in the next week or so. So I'll be adding to that amount, but how much marketing did this really get?
None. And that's one of the things Zachary Levi has talked about on social media over the
Yeah,
last couple of days. And look, I'm not a big on, get on social media, put people on blast, but he basically has said we didn't get much marketing for this film, and they're right. I only saw two different versions of the trailer or the commercial, and neither one were really super good. They threw in Wonder Woman in the last couple of days, her talking to Billy, and why are you not out there trotting out Gal Gadot every chance you get? She is and carries herself. She's a star.
yeah,
So the other thing that Zachary Levi talked about is it's a family film, but people don't even know that. And
yeah.
that's a marketing issue. You can take your kids and it's probably going to be pretty safe. You're not going to worry about a lot of foul language or a lot of double entendre or innuendo. You might have a little, but it'll be enough over their heads that they're not
Yeah.
going to know. And then
But I mean,
the third thing brought up is, you know, why was there not, crossing over with the Black Adam universe? Because if you think about it, no spoilers here, but there is a cut scene at the end which has a man of not aluminum, shall we say, um, but he is not a Black Adam foe, villain, or antagonist. Black Adam is an antagonist for Shazam. And there was some talk and discussion online about Dwayne Johnson basically strong armed him and said, no, we're not going to allow those two properties to coexist. I don't think that makes a big difference based on how Black Adam's returns were. But I think this does bolster David Zaslav's approach to how he's
yeah.
dealt with Warner Media as a whole. Just being like, we're done. These are already in the pipeline. I ain't touching it. I'm not taking credit for it. I sure ain't taking the blame for it.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
Black Adam was a $260 million budget, and they pulled in 393 million. That doesn't do well. And I've seen a lot where people are joking. They're like, well, maybe they're not. They're like, Dwayne Johnson not only destroyed Black Adam, but shot Shazam 2 in the foot of ever being able to, use Black Adam because he was so uh, what prevalent that Black Adam stands on its own. And be that as it may, one way or the other, I think the biggest thing here is you're seeing the big distinction between the DCEU and what we're about to see in the coming months and years of the DCU under Godfather Gunn.
you
You know,
mean the Flash movie that I've heard is spectacular, according to one A-lister in Hollywood who's seen the movie?
not possibly the greatest thing he's ever seen.
Look, dude, it could be a fantastic movie when they finally hand the reins over to Grant Gustin. I mean, that would make the movie fantastic, but I'm holding out hope. I'm keeping hope alive. If you run back in time enough times, you can change things just enough to where you get it the way you want it. Run,
My pro-
Barry, run.
we won't talk about the Flash this week because there's a lot there that just for me the bottom line is at the end of the movie, does anything in that movie matter?
If they're smart, it just resets the universe the way they want it to go.
Exactly.
And
That's their best option.
which means you can reset Shazam, Black Adam. They're going to recast them. That's not even a question. They're not going to be the same people. I wouldn't imagine.
Do you want to touch Black Adam though right now?
No, no, and this leads into a larger question we can talk about another time, maybe, and that is it superhero fatigue? Everybody wants to throw that label on it. It could be some of that, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw one other thing out at you. I don't know that it's superhero fatigue as much as they're just not great movies being made.
Yeah. Crap.
Marvel could not screw it up for about no, dude, for about a 9-10 year period of time. They couldn't screw it up. Iron Man 2, which was just okay. Thor:
Whiplash.
The Dark World was just okay, although I like it more than some people did. I actually like Age of Ultron better than a lot of people did because I get what they were going for. Execution is always rough, but I get it and I liked it. But then anything post Endgame, basically outside of Spider-Man, what Far From Home, wasn't it? That was the one. Yeah. that just tied on to Endgame, and so that had a huge bump. Beyond that, though, they've tripped over themselves a lot, and so what we're seeing is these major franchises and these major studios are struggling. You know who's not struggling right now? Sony.
No.
Sony
Oh.
right now. Right now, right now until we release Craven the Hunter, and then we'll come back. We'll revisit that. But you have Amazon that's releasing movies, so it's going to bear watching over the next couple of months how some of these franchises do, and then one day we promise we'll talk about Indiana Jones 5. Um, no, we won't talk about Indiana Jones 5. We will.
Indiana Jones 5 was just a project they kicked off because of all the money they spent acquiring Lucasfilm. That they're like, we need to make money off of it, and I hope it does well. The trailers haven't exactly inspired me one way or the other. I don't feel nostalgic, but either way, I hope it does well. But Indiana Jones 5, I have no desire to talk about until they give me a reason to talk about it.
And if they never do, can we still talk about it?
Yeah, we can talk about Indiana Jones and Last Crusade. Yes, we can absolutely talk about that.
Nothing else happened after that. There's no Crystal Skull situation. I mean, I don't blame you. I'm not fussing about it. I'm just understanding our parameters here. All right. Well, we have moved into Triple M Overtime. This is where we get to talk about topics that did not make the official list, but just things we want to touch on here and there. One of the things I had on my list, Earl, John Wick 4 drops this weekend. What are your expectations for John Wick 4? How massive of a success do you think it's tracking for?
The last one came out, what, 2019?
Yeah.
When was it? So pre-COVID. I'm, it comes out at the movie, the drive-in down here where I live. And I'm actually really thinking about making that trip. The first movie playing to that is Shazam 2.
Got it.
That part of the benefits of that. But, I do really want to see it. I know that it is a very strong fan base. As a franchise, Keanu Reeves has a very strong fan base, which I'm also a part of. And it's also potentially kind of a bookend because it's been mentioned that they're stepping away from John Wick. I know they've said, oh, John Wick 5, John Wick 6. But, I mean, you never know what's going to happen in it. But I am, after Ant-Man, I'm a bit worried. And, Shazam hasn't really helped my worries any. And, the Cocaine Bear, it destroyed things that it shouldn't have, but it did. Props to them. The trailers look funny, but it's not really age appropriate for younger viewers. But I'm like, all these big movies that are coming out in rapid fire sequence, like we know Creed had to they did it, whether it was brilliance or a gimmick, whatever they did there, it worked for them.
Right.
John Wick 4 is looking at $100 million budget, so they don't have a massive amount. That's one of the perks for the John Wick movies is they're not a large amount of money. I mean, $100 million budget, you don't hear that too often. Even Shazam, it's surprising that their budget was only $125 million.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if they can get started off right and they get good word of mouth, and I think that's going to be a big part of it this year is word of mouth, because I do believe that word of mouth, the reviewers killed Ant-Man's chance of continuing. And China didn't help either. I think he's up to like $22 million in China. And but I'm like, John Wick does have a fan base. So I think they have a shot of, I would say $450 million, which is less, I think, than because I know out of the three, they've made somewhere around $850 million between the three John Wick movies. So, I mean, I think they can probably hit 450 and I've heard it's a good movie as far as action and everything. So hopefully hopefully, I'm hopeful. What about you? What do you think? Any thoughts and hopes and expectations for John Wick 4?
Well, I can just tell you what the tracking is right now. Is they're saying it's possible it could break the $70 million threshold domestically,
Yeah,
and 115 globally, which would be an all time record for this franchise.
yeah.
Um, what chapter 3 had like almost 60 million. Chapter 2 had just over 30 domestically. So if this thing cracked 70, it would blow everything away. Now, there is the thought, Earl, that they could transition uh, from John Wick to his daughter, Candle. So we'll see if there's a spinoff there, um, whether his daughter Candlewick is able to carry the franchise or not. I'm keeping the flame burning for that.
For
But
the
yeah,
record, for the record here, I was sitting here for like 10 seconds of silence, going, What child? What daughter? What was there? Did I miss something?" And I'm going, "Wait a minute, that rat-faced turd nugget got me." Kendall Wick, you suck.
thank you. I try. So it's tracking pretty well. I think it'll do fine. Thumbs up to Jesus Revolution. Still hanging on out there. Made 45 million. Good on them. Scream 6 still holding okay. Creed is up to I think 157 now, I believe, after several weeks. So good on it. Looks like we've got a franchise that's going to be around for a while longer. So we've got some good movies there. We inch ever so much closer to Super Mario Brothers, and I will not be available because I will be watching that thing probably twice because I want to see as much of it as I can and witness all the stuff that will be there. Earl, any particular things jump out at you in our overtime session that we have not had a chance to talk about to this point?
No, not really. We kind of touched on the lackluster of certain studios and the disappointment of certain episodes that we really want to like, and the movies, the cinematic universe of different things. So I mean, we've touched on a lot of things. The only one I would ask is, um, are there any of the DCU, the new universe, projects that you're looking forward to yet? Because we've got a list of a bunch of the ones that are coming out, but have any of them really struck a chord with you?
So you did a really good video on it when all those things were first announced by the Godfather Gunn, who you're still
Mhm.
trying to get that off the ground. Copyright goes to you. Probably was it Creature Commandos, I believe.
Yep.
That one just fascinates me because I have to assume it's an animated. If they do a live action, I mean, you got two options. You do it old school masks, and it may look good and it may not, a la the Ninja Turtles, right? Where they actually had outfits on, or you CGI it. And the way CGI has been
And
going in some of these movies recently, I'm a little nervous about it. But I'm going to say Creature Commandos is probably the one that I'm most like. It kind of feels a little Guardian of the Galaxy like to me. Like I just got to
yeah,
see the spectacle, and you know what? Sometimes the spectacle can produce some of the most endearing characters and stories. And I'm really hoping maybe this is one of those hidden gems that we just don't know about yet, but we're all going to be like, holy cow, did you see that?
yeah, I can see it. Uh, that's funny you mention it. Is we know it's an animated series, but we know that they were willing to hire uh, voice talent that could portray them in live action.
Right.
And I'm a big fan of what was it? The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen that has
Yes.
a similar feel to it. So you know what? I agree with you. But I'm still not super excited for it. I'm tentative about a lot of stuff right now.
I would say the other
So
thing that I'm interested in, honestly, is the Flash movie. The more I hear about it, the more I'm like, either this is going to be a train wreck of epic proportions, or you know what? It's going to be sneaky good and be like, holy cow, this was really good. And oh, that's where we're going. And you've charted the course. I'm looking
yeah,
forward to see if they can pull that off because if DC can pull that off, honestly, with some of the struggles that Marvel has had lately, now's your chance to kind of stand out.
yeah,
This is not competition. Stop. We lived through the Monday Night Wars in wrestling. We lived through the streaming wars. We're still living through the streaming wars.
Yeah.
This is not a war of movies. Marvel done won that fight.
And then
20 years ago before it ever started. It was over
Yeah.
when it was over when X2 came out. It was over. And that's not even part of the cinematic universe. Or maybe it is.
Or is it?
It's a multiverse story. But this isn't about competing on a movie against movie. This is about, I feel like, putting out good products. If you put out good products, people will keep coming. They don't have to be fantastic. You know, we talk all the time. Well, how'd you think of it? It's okay. And people hear that and they get offended. Like, well, it was better than that. No, I just thought it was okay because it takes a lot to blow me away anymore. It really does. So if you can put out consistently good stuff, I promise you, dude, the fan base will come. It's not to build it, you will come. It's put something out good and the people will come out to support something that's good. And I think that's kind of lost in all of these arguments people have of, well, why aren't people watching it? Have you considered maybe as a whole people just don't think it's very good?
Yeah. Why do you think they reached out and said, Tom Holland, we would have signed you for another movie or two? Why? Because the 3 standalone Spider-Man movies have been very good.
Yeah.
You know, and even his appearances in the Marvel Universe, they've been very good. And you know, like you were just saying, give us something good, and we'll keep going to it. You start giving us some lackluster love and thunder.
I knew it was going to end up there with Screaming Goats. I knew it was going to end up somewhere like that.
You know, I like the Screaming Goats, but
I did too the first 5 times.
Well, there's that. I'll give that to you. But yeah, you know, give us something consistently good, and you will have your returns.
Yeah.
That, look at John Wick. Hopefully that proves it. You know, it has a premise that it sticks to, and it delivers, and it gives. And so, you know, now having said that, we did have the passing of who was what was it? Lance Reddick from the
John Wick.
Yeah, he just passed away, so you know, our sympathies for his family and friends. But he does have, I think he voices the Hellboy video game that'll be releasing soon.
Yes,
so
I believe that's right.
Give support out there for the game. Go buy it, play it. You know, give him one last hurrah.
You know what? And Earl brings up a really good point. We don't get to talk about video games very much. We like playing them. We just don't get to talk about it very much. But you know what? If you're frustrated with some of the output of the entertainment franchises, go find a video game. Immerse yourself in that. Dude, how many people immerse themselves with Shadows of the Empire back in the mid-90s on the Super NES? Or look at today, you've got the Hogwarts Legacy, which is just ridiculously – it's selling extremely well. You've got all these games out there, and you've got older games. Hey, if you've never played it, go play The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Go play it. If you like TV show, go play the game. I mean, there's a lot of quality content out there. There's the new Jedi game that's going to be coming out. Hopefully, yeah, it is a hit. But there's a lot of stuff coming there too. So if Hollywood's not giving you what you want, there's other forms, other mediums you can find. Or heck, you know what? Do what the Earl does. Do what Broken Ansible does. Go find a book on tape. If you don't have time to read the book, maybe you can find a good book that way, and it'll immerse you in a story. Because Earl, at the end of the day, I just want a good story. Whether it's superhero or science fiction or a police procedural or a mystery novel, just give me a good story. I'm happy.
Yep.
I'm not that person that's trying to figure out the end 3 pages in. That's just not my personality. Just give me something to hold me till the end, make me go, I'm really glad I invested the time. And I think when you do that, you create repeat business. Whether you're a restaurant, whether you're a grocery store, if I didn't enjoy my experience, I'm less likely to come back, and I'm less likely to recommend it to others. Hopefully our favorite entertainment franchises will take that into account. You know what? We say the customer is always right. Sometimes not. But their opinion of us is always held to be right, whether it is or isn't. And with that, With that, that's all I have for this week. I am the Lord Cephas. I was joined beautifully by the Earl of Florida. We appreciate you all spending time with us. Remember, like, subscribe, share this out on social media before you head on out. We do appreciate it. We hope everyone has a wonderful week. We are going to have some other videos that drop hopefully over the next couple of days. Again, we'll have Midnight Magic Music again next week. We'll have WrestleMania coverage next week on the Combat One Wrestling podcast. Yep. So a lot of things still to come. We're very excited about it growing the channel, but we just want to take a moment to say thank you for your support. You really are the energy behind what we do. We greatly appreciate it. So again, on behalf of the Earl of Florida, I'm the Lord Cephas. Y'all have a great evening. Have a great week. We'll see you back here soon.